What you just heard is the first howls of a direwolf in 10,000 years. They have officially come out of extinction. Meet the direwolf. For those of you who don't know, this is the largest wolf that has ever existed. They stood nearly 4 feet tall and weighed up to 175 pounds. That's a big wolf. I mean, if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, you know what I'm talking about. But unfortunately, they went extinct about 10,000 years ago. That is until now. Colossal has officially reintroduced them after 10,000 years. The first animals to ever come out of extinction. That feels weird to say out loud. They're adorable. I never thought I'd want to pet a direwolf, but here we are. And these are not lookalikes. These are actual direwolves brought back using ancient DNA. In other words, it's actually looking like extinction is going to be a thing of the past. What a time to be alive. Yeah, there's no baby in the room. That's coming from the bird. Allow me to explain. Meet the lyrebird. It's a songbird that's only found in Australia, and they're known for their remarkable ability to mimic the sounds of any other bird they hear. However, due to habitat loss, they've been forced to move closer and closer to humans. And after spending some time with humans, they've developed an entirely new catalog of sounds, like a baby crying. That will never not be weird to me, but as crazy as this sounds, it gets weirder. How about a car alarm? A camera? These weird laser sounds? Or even this. That was a flippin' chainsaw. A bird mimicking a chainsaw. Man, do I hope no one ever fires a pew-pew around them. But this mimicry is extremely important to them when it comes to mating. For a male to find a mate, he has to sing the female a song using all of the sounds he's learned. And whichever male has the most unique song gets the lady. In other words, if you ever see a lyrebird, be a good wingman. Teach it some cool sound. Let me explain. Meet the bombardier beetle, also known as the chemical cannon. It's basically a fully carnivorous beetle with a built-in chemistry lab. Inside their body, they have 2 chambers. One holds hydrogen peroxide and the other holds hydroquinone. And then they have a third chamber where these chemicals mix together, which results in an acid that sits at over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. As Paris Hilton would say, that's hot. And they could spray this chemical with precise accuracy whenever they feel threatened. Not to mention, they could spray over 500 times per second. That's a chemical Gatling gun. In other words, all of those ants are about to get super soaked in boiling acid. They don't even really have predators. I mean, occasionally a frog or toad will eat them and then throw them right back up because the beetle sprays in their stomach. Science hurts. Even a praying mantis won't mess with the Heisenbug. Gangster. Moral of the story, if you're ever feeling down, just remember, you could be a bug dealing with that. I'm not even joking. I think that's my new favorite animal. Meet the blue-footed booby. They're extremely rare and they're mainly found on the Galapagos Islands. And obviously, they're famous for their blue feet, but those blue feet are way more important than you think. Every booby has a different shade of blue feet. The healthier or more mature they are, the brighter blue their feet are. And when it comes to mating, the male will go and do a dance for the female. It basically looks like high-step marching, so they could show how blue their feet are. It looks hilarious. And if their feet are blue enough, the female will start dancing with them. This courtship dance is one of the rarest phenomenons in the animal kingdom. Oh yeah, they also don't lay eggs in a nest. They just lay them on the ground and cover them with their feet. If you can't tell, they love their little blue stompers. Moral of the story, if you're ever in the Galapagos Islands, you have to see the blue-footed boobies. But don't touch their feet. Yeah, there's only one animal that rips baseball-sized chunks out of flesh. Meet the cookie cutter shark. These little monsters are known for their unique style of hunting. Basically, they have a bioluminescent stomach, which means it glows. And other creatures become attracted to this and start swimming towards it. In other words, it's a built-in lure. And by the time they get close enough to realize what it is, it's too late. And this is what the shark attacks with. A circular mouth that acts like a suction cup filled with razor-sharp teeth. They just latch on, turn, and they chop out a perfect circle. We're talking 3 inches in diameter and 3 inches deep. That's a carnivorous can opener. The ocean sucks. Not to mention, they're known to attack anything. Orcas, sharks, whales, dolphins, and yes, even humans. True story. I would show you a picture, but I I'd rather my video stay up. Oh, but it gets worse. Mother Nature thought it was a good idea to have them hunt in packs, which would explain why the swordfish had so many cookies missing. Moral of the story, if you ever see an animal with a cookie-sized chunk missing from its flesh, now you know why. I'm telling you, nothing about this creature makes a lick of sense. Meet the Axelottle. First off, those things on its head are gills, so it can breathe underwater. But they can also take in oxygen through their skin, because their skin acts like lungs. That already doesn't make sense. Makes even less sense when you find out that they actually have lungs. Bro can breathe. On top of that, they also have the ability to regenerate their limbs. And it's not like normal regeneration. These guys can regenerate everything. We're talking legs, gills, eyes, pieces of its brain. Not to mention, it could regenerate everything multiple times. It's basically indestructible. They also don't have teeth. Instead, they create a vacuum suction in their mouth that just crushes their prey. And sometimes they'll vacuum up rocks too to make the crushing go smoother. It's weird, man. And the best part is if they can't find food, they'll just go cannibalistic and eat the limbs of their family and friends. But they do this knowing that those limbs will regenerate. It's kind of like an infinite food glitch. I can't tell if that's evil or genius. Moral of the story, if I can have any animal superpowers, I want that.
Here we go. 3.
Coyote has lost his mind. That was a lionfish. And all of those little tentacle things are venomous spines. And basically when they run into their prey or a predator, they flare up those spines and aim them at the target. And if you're actually unlucky enough to get stung by one, you're gonna get met with severe pain and swelling. And you could possibly be paralyzed. It's so fun. But the real problem with these guys is not their venom. It's the fact that they're native to the Indo-Pacific region. That's where they're supposed to be. And somehow they made their way to the Atlantic Ocean, where they're an invasive species with no predators. On top of that, each lionfish lays around 2 million eggs a year. In other words, the population is gonna grow out of control, and they eat a boatload. Like to the point that one lionfish can eliminate 80 to 90% of marine life in a region in just 5 weeks. It's actually so bad that scientists are begging people to eat more lionfish. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a main villain. Moral of the story, if you start seeing a rise of lionfish on menus, now you know why.
Okay, so this is the coolest snake I've ever seen. Does anybody know what this is?
Back up! You do not want to get close to that thing. That is a very dangerous noodle. Meet the Gabon Viper. These nope ropes are only found in sub-Saharan Africa. And you'll notice that they move like a caterpillar. They look really slow. But do not let that fool you. These bad boys have one of the fastest strikes of any snake on earth. 200 miles an hour, or 20 feet per second. That's basically a mini F1 car coming for your soul. And this is what they're striking with. 2-inch fangs. Those are actually the largest fangs of any snake in the world. Not to mention, they also unload more venom than any other snake as well. They got a lot of records. And if you're actually unlucky enough to get bit by one, your whole body will swell up and break out in blisters. And if you don't get it treated, you might want to start looking for prosthetic limbs, because you're going to lose whatever limb got bit. That is, if you don't end up in a wooden box. In other words, even the cameraman ain't safe from this. I would back up, like a lot. Maybe to another country. That bear saw his life flash before his eyes. Let me tell you something. Meet the moose. These walking attitudes are the #1 deadliest animal in all of Canada. You know, the place that has polar bears and brown bears and wolves and mountain lions and wolverines. On top of that, they are enormous. They get up to nearly 10 feet tall and weigh 1,600 pounds. That's the weight of 2 full-size grizzlies. So, there's that. There's also the fact that one kick from them will land you right outside the pearly gates. Yeah, they kick hard. Like, really hard. Like when they throw a kick, you can hear their ligaments and tendons snapping in their leg kinda hard. Like they've been known to take out wolves and humans and bears in one kick kinda hard. A bear in one kick. And there's still people doing this? Y'all are crazy. Not to mention, they could kick in a 360-degree radius. In other words, you could be anywhere around them and get reduced to 0 HP. Moral of the story, never get too close to a moose. It's like a 1,500-pound John Wick. Yeah, it's only 4 centimeters in size. But trust me, that is the most powerful 4 centimeters on planet Earth. Meet the pistol shrimp. Now, the first thing you'll notice about them is they have one little claw and one big claw. That's their strong hand. And they get their name because they can snap that big claw so hard that it creates a sound at 210 decibels, which is louder than a gun. Oh, and if you're underwater when that goes off, you could go deaf. So there's that. But this is where things get crazy. When they snap that claw, it also fires a bubble bullet out at over 60 miles an hour. And the inside of that bubble bullet can reach temperatures of over 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Do you understand how hot that is? That is 4 times hotter than lava. Better yet, that is nearly the temperature of the surface of the sun. Let that sink in. Not to mention, the snap also creates shock waves that will instantly send a creature right into a meeting with God. In other words, when this thing snaps, everything goes bye-bye. Wow, that sounds familiar.
Should have gone for the head.